So, the French Revolution. It kicks off with this incredible promise of freedom, right? It's supposed to be this beacon of hope, tearing down this ancient world of privilege. But, well, that light gets snuffed out pretty fast, and France ends up in one of the bloodiest periods you can imagine. So what we're going to do is explore how this amazing fight for liberty just spirals into a story of division, ideals, and, yeah, pure terror.
And that's the big question, isn't it? The one that's kept people up at night for centuries. How does a revolution, one that's all about the rights of man, end up, well, eating its own? It's a crazy paradox. So let's break it down step by step and see how this all went so wrong.
Okay, so in the beginning, the revolution is this absolute whirlwind of change. I mean, it's breathtaking. The goal, it's huge. They wanted to build a whole new France from scratch, based on brand new ideas, like logic, reason, and human rights. Talk about ambitious.
And the National Assembly, wow, they moved fast, like lightning fast. In just one single dramatic night, they basically tear down the entire feudal system. All those special rights for nobles in the church, poof, gone. Then they lay down this new foundation, the Declaration of Rights. But, and this is a big but, their next move was a huge gamble. They grabbed all the church land. Now sure, this helped pay the bills, but it made millions of really religious peasants furious. And that created a division that, honestly, would never really go away.
You really have to stop and think about how wild these ideas were back then. I mean, for centuries, your rights were something a king gave you. This document comes along and says, nope, actually, you're born with them. Every single person. The right to liberty, property, to push back against a bad government. These weren't just nice-sounding words. This was throwing down the gauntlet to every single king in Europe.
And it all got boiled down to three powerful words: liberty, equality, fraternity. It's a brilliant slogan, right? Liberty, freedom from the king. Equality, no more special treatment for the rich guys. Everyone's the same under the law. And fraternity, this really radical idea that all of France is one big family, all in it together. It was an incredible promise for a brand new world.
But that dream of fraternity, of everyone being one big happy family, yeah, it was paper thin. Underneath all that revolutionary excitement, these deep, deep cracks were already starting to form in the foundation of this new republic.
And this right here was the point of no return for the king. So in June 1791, King Louis XVI packs up his family and tries to bolt. He's trying to get out of France, probably to get foreign armies to help him crush the revolution. But he gets caught. They're recognized right near the border and dragged all the way back to Paris. For so many people, this was it. The ultimate betrayal. The king didn't just disagree with them, he ran away. And just like that, the trust was gone. Forever.
So this brings up a huge question, right? They've got a new constitution, all these amazing new rights, so why are things getting more violent, not less? Well, the answer is kind of complicated. It turns out freedom meant totally different things depending on who you asked. The revolution had basically opened a Pandora's box, and nobody knew how to close it.
And you could see this play out inside the government itself. So in the assembly, where they all sat, literally determined their politics. Over on the left, you had the radicals. They wanted the king gone, period. Big changes. On the right, you had the conservatives, who were like, okay, maybe some changes, but let's keep a limited monarchy. And stuck in the middle were the moderates. And here's a cool little fact for you. The political terms we still use today, left, right, and center, they were literally born right here, in this room, based on where these guys sat. Pretty amazing.
And it wasn't just the politicians arguing. The whole country was getting pulled in opposite directions. You had the émigrés, these are the nobles who fled France, and they're all scheming to bring back the good old days. And then back in Paris, you've got the sans-culottes. These are the poor working class folks, and for them, the revolution hadn't gone nearly far enough. You've got two groups wanting completely opposite things. The pressure was just building and building.
So France is completely divided, right? What do the leaders do? What leaders often do in this situation? They declare war. The thinking was, hey, maybe a common enemy will unite us. Well, it did the exact opposite. It was like throwing a lit match into a room full of gunpowder. And just look at how fast everything goes off the rails. France declares war. Suddenly, foreign armies are threatening to invade Paris. This, of course, just makes everyone even angrier. A mob storms the king's palace, and bam, just like that, centuries of French monarchy are gone. France is officially a republic. Which leads to the next terrifying question.
What do you do with a king when you don't have a kingdom anymore?
The guys pushing this radical turn were called the Jacobins. Think of them as a super-organized and totally ruthless political club. And for them, there was absolutely no going back. They reached this really chilling conclusion. For the new republic to survive, the king had to die. They figured as long as he's breathing, he's a symbol, a magnet for every single person who wants to destroy the revolution.
And so, they did it. January 1793, King Louis XVI is marched to a public square and beheaded by the guillotine. I mean, can you imagine? This one act just sends shockwaves across the entire continent. It was the ultimate line in the sand. There was no compromise now, no turning back. The revolution had killed the king and now was a fight to the death against every other monarchy in Europe.
Okay, so now the situation is incredibly tense. You've got enemy armies at the border and a growing paranoia about enemies inside France. So the Jacobin government basically declares a national emergency. And their solution to save the revolution is, well, it's something new. They decide to unleash state-sponsored terror, and they do it all in the name of building a republic of virtue. And if you had to pick one person who became the face of this terrifying period, it was Maximilien Robespierre. He takes charge of this group called the Committee of Public Safety. Don't let the name fool you. It was basically a 12-man dictatorship with one job: defend the revolution from every threat, whether it was real or just something they imagined.
And this quote from Robespierre, it is just bone-chilling because it shows you exactly how they justified it all. He wasn't saying, let's have chaos. He was arguing that terror was a good thing, a form of virtue. It was a tool, like a surgeon's knife to cut the corruption out of France. In his mind, this severe, swift, inflexible justice was the only way to make the revolution succeed.
And the guillotine, which, ironically, was first promoted as a more humane way to execute people, it becomes the terrifying symbol of this whole period. They set up these so-called revolutionary courts, and you could be accused of being an enemy of the revolution, a phrase so vague it could mean literally anything. And the trials? They were a sham. Little to no evidence needed. The speed was what was so horrifying. You're on trial in the morning, and your head is in a basket by the afternoon.
And the scale of the killing, it's just staggering. The reign of terror lasts for less than a year. In that short time, an estimated 40,000 people were either executed or died in prison. Just let that number sink in for a second. 40,000.
So who were these people being killed? Well, sure, you had the big names like the former Queen Marie Antoinette, and even other revolutionaries who thought, hey, maybe we've gone too far. They got the guillotine too. But here is the most shocking, most tragic fact of all. 85% of the people executed were peasants, workers, and the middle class. The exact same people the revolution was meant to help. I mean, you can't find a more terrible irony than that.
You know, a fever can't burn that hot forever. Eventually it has to break. And this revolutionary fever, built on so much fear and paranoia, it was no different. The terror had eaten so many people, and in the end, it was going to turn around and eat the man who started it.
So by July 1794, nobody feels safe, not even the people in charge. Robespierre gets up and gives this scary speech, hinting that he has a new list of traitors right there in the government. But he doesn't name names, and that was his big mistake. Everyone in the room is looking around thinking, is it me? Feeling they'd be next, they finally found their nerve. They shouted him down, had him arrested, and the very next day, Robespierre himself was sent to the guillotine. The architect of the terror met his end by the very machine he'd used on so many others.
And with Robespierre gone, the whole reign of terror just collapses. France was just exhausted. People were so tired of the killing, tired of the chaos. So about a year later, they write another new constitution. This one sets up a much more moderate government called the Directory. The goal this time wasn't radical change, it was just one thing: stability. Please just make it stop. The Directory managed to bring a kind of fragile peace. And because they were still desperate for a strong leader, someone who could protect France, they put their faith in this one brilliant, ambitious young general, a guy named Napoleon Bonaparte. And with that, the revolution was pretty much over. But it leaves us with this huge, haunting question, doesn't it? This whole journey, from that incredible promise of liberty to the bloody reality of the guillotine, it absolutely changed the world. But when you look at the price, all the blood, all the fear, you have to ask yourself, was it worth it?